Welcome. Our next speaker is Winona LaDuke. Winona has dedicated her entire life to protecting Anishinaabe culture, seeds, lands, and waters. She has done this as a political activist and even a vice presidential candidate. She's the author of 7 books, including her latest, To Be a Water Protector, and she's worked as a rural development economist, working on issues of Indigenous economics, food, and energy policy. In 1989, Winona founded the White Earth Land Recovery Project as part of an effort to recover the 90% of the White Earth Indian Reservation that had been illegally stolen. During her 25-year tenure as executive director, they secured the return of 1,400 acres. In 2003, they were awarded the International Slow Food Award for Biodiversity for successfully defending the Anishinaabes' sacred wild rice from genetic engineering.
Hi.
Hi, sorry, I paused because I heard a sound, but I'm going to continue. I apologize. In 2016,
I was making my phone go away.
Good. I'm glad you're there. Everything's working fine. I was worried that I had been muted the whole time. So in 2016, they became founding members of the Turtle Island Slow Food Association, the first Indigenous slow food association in the world. Winona has been a farmer since the late 1990s, using traditional methods to raise corn, beans, squash, and tobacco. Now with Honor the Earth, Winona's Hemp and Heritage Farm, and the Anishinaabe Agricultural Institute, she's working to restore foodways, rematriate seeds, and make a new economy, one that is local, organic, and led by women. But this isn't getting any easier. Today, she is fighting to protect everything she has nurtured throughout her career from the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. Welcome, Winona.
Thank you. Ani Nindoy Magadjo Hello, my relatives. I'm happy to be with you. I'm here on the White Earth Reservation at Round Lake, which is the source of the Red River, and looking also towards the Mississippi River, just a little bit to the east of us. But greetings to all. I'm going to talk a little bit, and then my good colleague and brother, Frank Bibeau, is going to talk a little bit more about wild rice. So I'm happy to be with you to talk about food. Everybody's always happy to talk about food. You know, our foods are old foods, and you know, as it was explained, I spent most of my life working to restore and protect these old foods because the biodiversity and the nutrition and the spirit that's in food means something, you know, and that's what we got to protect, because these relatives have spirits. We always say we have relatives that have wings or fins and roots, paws, you know, all them. These are our relatives too. So today I was going to talk about wild rice mostly. You know, only place in the world it grows is up in our territory. Where there is wild rice, there are Anishinaabe people. Long time ago, Mwanja, these prophets came to our people and told us that we should move from where we lived in the east. You know, we lived out on the east. We were related to the Wabanakis and the Penobscots and the Mi'kmacs and Lenapes. Those are our relatives. But we, Anishinaabe, were instructed to follow a shell in the sky to the place where the food grows upon the water. And that is the wild rice. And so we did that long time ago, 7 separate resting spots, and came here to Madeline Island and here to northern Minnesota. So my reservation is all full of wild rice. That's why we live here, and including the mother lode of wild rice, which is Big Rice Lake, the northern side, but the Crow Wing, all of those areas, all of our area is wild rice territory, very sacred. And the economy up here for thousands of years, you know, we harvest the rice in the same lake for 10,000 years. And that's a wild rice economy that exists in Minnesota too. It existed historically. And you know, what happened is what you call greed. I call it Wendigo economics, the economics of a cannibal. You know, the University of Minnesota came up to study the Ojibways. The anthropologist said, you know, we're never going to colonize these people because they're too happy with their wild rice and they don't have to worry about us. You know, they could just eat rice. And plus, they just go out there and they don't have to work. They just take care of their lakes and rivers and they pray and then they go get their rice. So, you know, starting pretty early on, 1900s, University of Minnesota and anthropologists, they were just really upset that the Ojibways had such a huge commitment to our wild rice. And we would gather and you go out and harvest it with 2 sticks in a canoe. two people, you put your prayers out and you bring it in and you parch it by a fire and you dry it, you dance on it, and grand celebrations. Grand celebrations. We just had some of them up on Madeline Island, our traditional capital. So I say this because the anthropologists were very upset that we had so much fun, and they set about trying to change that. The University of Minnesota, decided it was not good. They call it Ojibwe Mardi Gras. And they said, we're never going to colonize the Ojibways because they have such a good time and are so grateful for their harvest. Well, so you, University of Minnesota, the guys who brought us the Green Revolution, those guys, they started early with us. And they try to figure out how to take the rice from us by domesticating it. Take wild, make it grow in a rice paddy. We don't call that wild rice, we call that tame rice. But the University of Minnesota they stole seeds from us, and then they worked on creating these things. And, it was the state grain in Minnesota in 1970s. And by the 1980s, wild rice was all grown in California. 75% of the wild rice grown in the country is grown in diked rice paddies in Northern California. And we don't think it tastes like a lake. It tastes like a paddy, and it shouldn't be called wild rice. It should be called paddy rice, paddy grown rice. But, so Frank and I began this battle a long time ago. I'm about to introduce Frank here. And we battled, Frank filed a lawsuit in the 1980s called Wabasee versus Anheuser-Busch. And that was a lawsuit because these paddy rice guys were trying to take our rice and sell it, add 2 Indians in a canoe on it, and it was California rice. And it was being sold, it was called Oceania wild rice. It was being sold by Anheuser-Busch. So Frank and Mike Swan sued them. I worked with him on that. And then we had to go and fight the genetic engineering of our wild rice in 2000 is when they announced that they had cracked the DNA sequence. And so then we had to fight the U again. 7 years we fought them on their right to genetically engineer, and there's no genetically engineered wild rice. Our people have fought a long time on this. Well, now come Enbridge. Enbridge has been in here a long time, but they, in their greed in the last stages of the fossil fuel economy, when you can pump everything in, decide to put pipelines through our territory. And so those pipelines, we got some old ones, but they've been trying to put in Line 3 for 8 years. 8 years. And this is the battle. Our people have fought them in the courts. Our people have fought them on the streets. Our people have fought them in the regulatory commissions. And now we have put our bodies on the line. 900 of us were arrested this summer, including myself, charges in 3 counties for being a water protector. And, I'm an Anishinaabe. My responsibility as a woman is to protect the water. And my responsibility is to protect the wild rice. I'm not a criminal. And so this is our story. And we need your help and support to protect our wild rice and to acknowledge the significance of native harvested wild rice and protect us and support us in our battles against the big oil companies. So I'm going to say Frank Bibeau is going to come on, and he's my colleague. We fought all these things together, and he's got a really amazing lawsuit, but he's been a really courageous man in the protection of wild rice. So thank you. And I think maybe someone's going to say something more important, but thank you for your time. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
May I introduce you? This is Frank Bibeau. He is a lawyer who lives with his wife on the Leech Lake Reservation in northern Minnesota. He is continuing the traditional smoked whitefish and wild rice operations in Ball Club. Frank worked with the Native American press Ojibwe News for nearly 20 years. Then in 2000, he graduated from the William Mitchell School of Law and became an attorney to secure treaty rights of tribes and members to protect their natural resources today and for future generations. Frank represents Honor the Earth in its challenge to the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. So welcome, Frank.
Winona, talk about our struggles. And, it's really amazing how important wild rice is to us as the Chippewa, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, and how many times it has sustained us and been our stronghold for not just food and nutrients and things like that, but even right now in the fight, wild rice is trying to protect us and keep us strong still. And I say that because this wild rice lawsuit that we have going on is very interesting. how it's been working out. You may have heard about it. It's called Monoman versus Department of Natural Resources. And for us, using our treaty rights, Winona talks about being a water protector. It's more than a water protector. And like she's talking about with the Monoman and all of our natural resources and everything that we have that we rely upon that's based on the water for hunt, fish, and gather. And so when we first started fighting Line 3 and we were looking at how we were going to protect ourselves based on what Enbridge did when they went out to dapple and joined up out there and bulldozed down people. And, it looked very dangerous, very militarized. And they arrested a lot of people and really hurt a lot of people's lives and livelihoods. And we didn't want that to happen to people here. And so this wild rice lawsuit that we have, this Monoman wild rice lawsuit, it's not just about the existence of Monoman and the right to flourish and to regenerate and to recover and to be preserved, but it's the rights also of the tribal members to protect Monoman. And so it's also part of our defenses against the state of Minnesota. The state of Minnesota, for whatever reason, has sold out almost completely from what I can see about defending natural resources. They permitted Line 3. They thoroughly ignored repeatedly the rights that we have tried to present to them, our treaty rights at various stages with the Public Utilities Commission, with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and now more recently with the DNR. And interestingly enough, and it's probably because it's Monoman and wild rice, Monoman has sued the DNR in tribal court, and tribal courts haven't been around very long, 20, 30 years for the most part. And as a result, there isn't case law that's very thorough on what's going on. And what the DNR has found out that what might be case law for non-Indians off reservation and in federal courts where people can't just sue another state, those laws don't apply to us because we're different under the Constitution and we're different because of treaties. And so wild rice is mentioned in our 1837 treaty so specifically. It says that we have the right to hunt, fish, and gather wild rice in the lakes and rivers and lands. That is a very broad statement. When you're trying to protect water in a large territory, having a treaty right, the supreme law of the land, being a backup to Monoman, that's about as good a gift as you can get in 2021. And our treaty journals, when we made the treaties with the United States, we made sure that they understood what our primary treaty foods are. Wild rice is a primary treaty food. We have that in our treaty itself, but also fish and Monoman. And they require abundant, clean, fresh water. And we've already had a number of oil spills and fires and things from Enbridge along Line 3 and the whole corridor here in Minnesota. We've had people killed from explosions and things like that. And so right now, Line 3, Enbridge makes it sound like the project is complete. And they may have completed the welding, I'm not certain. But from what I understand, the oil has been stopped somewhere around Crookston because of the aquifer that they breached. And we have an aquifer that is pumping out something like 100,000 gallons, maybe 150,000 gallons a day. And in that sand, it ends up making it more like quicksand, where it's hard for them to go in and repair what they've done. They've lost millions of gallons during a drought and during our wild rice season, and they still can't plug this hole. And it's very likely that they may not be able to, because they had a drought and there was still more water coming through and they couldn't stop it. We've been through the cold part of the year and they weren't able to stop it. I'm not so sure that the earth is going to let Line 3 go through itself. And so we're very concerned about what's going on in the environment. We've had a lot of frack outs from the way they've done their horizontal directional drilling, and we're looking at having a flyover using infrared imagery to try to detect where those places are, because the Department of Natural Resources and the Pollution Control Agency really haven't been doing their job. And what we've seen from some of the drone footage, from some of the people that have been working together on trying to save and protect our environment, we can see where these frack outs and releases have killed all of the vegetation within a segments of the river where it drifts down. And so we are very concerned about what else is still yet to come. And we don't think that people are looking out for our interests very well. And so we're going to have to step in. And we're going to have to step in and we're going to have to do some flyovers. We're going to have to establish some baseline chemistry to see what's going on and show the state of Minnesota how to do their job and protect our resources. And I think this lawsuit that we've put together is going to be the new cutting edge for environmental protection and for tribes. Because if we can use our laws to protect the environment and they're not subject to state law, and we could even go in and sue the state for not following its own laws or our laws in tribal court, we may have achieved a tool that has been waiting to come and protect the United States for a long, long time. And ultimately, we could end up with all of the treaty tribes potentially in the future where all of our territories are joined and our environmental laws become the law of the land again. And that's what we're working on. So we've got some very interesting tactics going on. The fight isn't over. We're still looking to stop what's happening. And we need to make sure that this is where it stops, here in Anishinaabe territory. Thank you. Miigwech.
Well, thank you both. I can leave the floor for you to talk, but I just wanted to ask if you wanted me to show the images that Frank shared with me. I just like what you just said at the last bit about how we could have tribal law protecting all of these lands if your land was recognized. And it was news to me how much of Minnesota, I mean, obviously all of it, but according, but like in the record, there was a whole lot of land that belonged to the Anishinaabe, and it has not been, these treaties have not been protected. Would it be okay if I showed that map and you told us a little bit about that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, bear with me while I share. And so if you guys can keep talking and I'll just share just a sec. Hold on.
I think I want to say that our tribes have tried to work through the system. It's called regulatory capture when multinational corporations own your regulatory system. And so they get things like 5 billion gallons of water without a hearing. Single largest allocation of water in the history of the state was given to Enbridge this year in June. Didn't even really notify us, didn't notify the tribes, just gave away 5 billion gallons of water, and it's the worst drought since the Dust Bowl. So what kind of laws are those? It's like made up laws that are written by corporations. And so what we say is that, you need the laws of nature because that's who we live with. We don't, corporations are fictitious creations. We know that there's only water that you can drink. There's not water that is made up and sold to you by Nestle's. That came from us, All right, this is our guys. This is the Thompsons. Out on the lake.
Right. Were you going to go to a map or which part, Alexis?
Okay, you're confusing us. You're spinning them too fast.
There we go. That one. That's a good place to start there. And so when you look at this map, it's kind of a, it's not a fancy map or anything, but what you see first is that red boundary line. And that red boundary line was created in 1825 with a treaty with the United States, but that treaty actually involved about a dozen tribes. What it primarily said in 1825 was that above that red line, the Chippewa decided who hunted in that territory, and certainly we regulated our own conduct. South of that red line is primarily the Dakota. There's other bands that are out there, the Menominee and things like that. And so they were on the other side of the boundary, and they controlled who hunted on that side. But we still had the right to hunt on all those sides because that's the way it had always been. And when the United States made the 1826 treaty, up essentially where Duluth, Minnesota is now, they came in as a ratification or a reaffirmation of the 1825 treaty. And what they said in that treaty was that we still retain the title to the land and the jurisdiction. And while we did sell a lot of the land that was there, and you can see those territories, the blue territories, the 1855, and that's the one we're primarily talking about. While we did sell the land, we didn't give up our jurisdiction, and we didn't give up our environmental rights to protect our resources. And with what's been going on with the degradation of resources, the neglect of resources by the PCA or the DNR, we have no choice but to step in and protect our resources. If anybody's the criminal, it's probably the legislators in the PUC for trying to give it all away, knowing it's ours and that we've been relying on it, like Winona said, for thousands of years. And they're just giving it away in just minutes. And they still haven't solved the problems that they've created. And they haven't even started putting oil through yet. Who are these guys? Right, Winona?
That's exactly right. I mean, the fact is that if they break an aquifer and can't figure out how to fix it, why should they get to oil? Does anybody want to explain that to me? Why should they get to put oil through there? I mean, this is, this is a SHIT show. Can I say that? I mean, it's crazy up here, and the other thing is that it's really important, to know that all of the police were financed by Enbridge. The state of Minnesota in its prostituting of democracy for a Canadian multinational had them pay for the police up here. And so 900 people were arrested by police that were paid for by Enbridge. And there was excessive use of force. You got people whose faces were messed up, plus rubber bullets. All of us should not have been charged. We're patriots. We're not criminals. And the criminal corporation, which has done all these crimes, and continues to do those, breaking aquifers, frying rivers, and stealing water, and has no recourse, is just continues on. That's what's wrong. When corporations run your government, this is what's wrong. I feel like Ralph Nader or something, for crying out loud. But that's what we're saying. This is the same thing, and this is a Canadian multinational, and they're moving east. They're trying to get to the Straits of Mackinac, and the only treaty they want to recognize is the 1977 pipeline treaty that gives them the right to keep pumping oil. That's the only treaty that Canada wants to recognize. So these are significant issues on where the future is of the legal systems of this country. And what we know is that, the legal systems have failed the environment, have failed the people. And what we need is legal systems that really that are sustainable, like maybe like those in Bolivia, the rights of nature, the rights of Mother Earth, and ours, the rights of wild rice. We believe that those rights supersede the rights of multinational corporations to steal water, and that's why these cases are important, because it's about what the future is of the law, and how that, how that should, how
Right.
that's going to roll out.
And Enbridge's track record, a lot of times people don't know that name Enbridge very well. But what they do know is about the Kalamazoo oil spill. That was Enbridge. And people were, it had been a long time, and people thought that was like the largest inland oil spill in America in 2010. But we had to go through and actively make it possible for people to see that the largest oil spill in America was actually in 1991 in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And because it preceded the internet and things like that, it wasn't just available to find. And as people started looking, they could see that wasn't the only oil catastrophe. We had another one in Cohasset in 2002. We had the Clearbrook fire up there, where a couple people died right at the plant up there, where they separate, where the oil goes south to the Twin Cities or over to Superior. And then you had the Husky refinery fire. Everybody saw that on the news. And you would think that we would be trying to stop something that keeps having leaks and has a giant fire on the shoreline of Lake Superior. And, it's like yesterday's news sometimes for some of these people, and I don't know why.
Well, you know what I feel like is late stage oil addiction, is what we're looking at. I mean, between, the coastal spill in Santa Barbara and the idea of these pipelines, what we need is a just transition. And we don't just need electric cars, we need electric trains, and we need to quit moving so much stuff around. I mean, the local foods is what we need. We need to relocalize our economy and not ship shrimp from, Scotland to, grazed in Scotland, deveined in China, and sent to a Walmart near you. I mean, this is what really Erin Dottie Roy, she talks about pandemic as portal and the opportunity to transform the world in the time that we are in. And this lawsuit, this battle in the last stage of the fossil fuel economy between the Ojibwe people and our wild rice and the Canadian multinational from the corporate, from the country that kills Indians, I think it's an epic battle, and we need all your support. And I know a lot of you have supported Honor the Earth and our lawsuits, and I want to thank you, for supporting our work and supporting the work of Frank. HonorEarth.org, www.honorearth.org, and you could stay, apprised of the issues as the court cases move forward, and as our, the court cases of the 900 water protectors and the rights of Monoman. And there is still not a federal court decision, and we are waiting for the federal court to decide if they want to require an environmental impact statement. But if you want to help us, call on Biden, call on Washington. Hundreds of people were arrested this week. The Indians occupied the BIA first time since the 1970s. And, we're ready. We're ready for support. We're ready for, everybody to stand with us against the next 50 new coal-fired power plants that this pipeline represents. We don't need Enbridge, and we don't need new oil and pipes in this country. And that oil, needs to stay in the ground. That's where it belongs. Our prophecy said that a long time ago. So,
I just want to say that if you don't know, we've been in this struggle for 7 or 8 years, probably 7 years with Line 3, and if you go back to Sandpiper, 8 years. It's been a long struggle. They tried to have this process so slippery that they could have permitted the pipe and the route in less than a year. And so it is really Honor the Earth and Winona's work to get other people, to intervene and things like that have really brought to light a lot of the inadequacies and a lot of the shortcuts. We've tried our best. We've put our Anishinaabe cumulative impact assessment together. We explained where all of our treaty rights were. The administrative law judge said there's no good place to put it. We should do an inline trench replacement. That's what we told them. And the PUC said, thanks for telling me about treaty rights. We don't care. We're going to go where Enbridge wants to go. So what's the point of engaging if the state law and the federal laws don't protect? And that's why we've created our own tribal law. And it may very well be that this is going to be the thing that turns everything. So we appreciate your help, and we're going to stay in the fight, and we hope you will too. Thank you. Miigwech.
Wonderful. The Organic Consumers Association has asked its members to donate to the wild rice lawsuit. So far, we've raised $8,000, but that's not going to be enough to fight a multinational like Enbridge. So please go to honorearth.org to donate to the wild rice lawsuit. If they can protect their wild rice and their own treaty rights, it protects all of us. So it's a fight we're all in together.
And, we're all in this too. I mean, I want to say you could buy our wild rice. We don't got a lot this year because the drought. It was really hard on some of the sales of wild rice or some of the purchases. We got some, but always think about supporting this local food economy, that we have. It's the only grain indigenous to North America. And, the thing is that in my life, I just seen them. Like when I was little, wild rice was the thing, up north. It still is for Anishinaabe people, but it was for everybody when I was little. It was a big wild rice economy in the north. And what colonization looks like is they make it act like that doesn't exist. And all that exists is mining and big ag, And what we need is the local indigenous economy, because that's a sustainable one. And everywhere you are, that is what we need to support. That's why I was happy to visit with you all, because this is, in our teachings, this is how you protect biodiversity and you restore it. And that's what we, that's what our work is up in the north. We're, they say that on a worldwide scale, about 75% of the world's biodiversity is on the lands of indigenous people. We're about 4% of the world's population, but 75% of the world's biodiversity. We're the people in the Arctic, and we're the people in the Amazon. We're the people in the boreal forests and in the rainforests. We're the people in the bogs and the wild rice. That's us. And, in order to protect that, work with us. The fact is that we've been fighting this, like Frank said, really long time. But a lot of people didn't know about it, because, I don't know, they got ADD or because they're too busy looking at their phones or something and, trying to figure out where they should buy something cool, and in the meantime, what we need to do is take care of our water. And now we're getting more attention, I guess, to this. But, this is a question of systemic change. It's not a question of like some Indians who want to protect their wild rice. It's a question of which legal systems should we have? Systems which enable corporations to take the commons or something that belongs to the creator or belongs to the natural world and make it private. Is that the future? Is that the future legal system that we want? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that system makes no sense. It's quite obvious that it makes no sense. I think that this is a time when we're all looking at the fossil fuels. I was just writing a little article about it today. I mean, they still got to export. We export 3.7 million gallons of oil a day. Hey, this oil's, you know what? Half this oil, 540,000 barrels a day, is going to, oh, that's right, back to Canada, of the Enbridge oil. I was like, so we're just like, they're shoving oil down our throat to send it back to Canada. What I'm saying is, it's like time to move away from the addictive habit of fossil fuels and letting dirty oil companies run our country. And you know what? It's changing. We all know that. Exxon isn't even at the top of the S&P anymore. And oh yeah, my old alma mater, Harvard, jeepers, man. How long did I spend trying to get them to divest from South Africa? Really long time, with all the others struggling away. You know what? Nothing. You know, but now they're just divesting from fossil fuels. So, you know, when Harvard divests from fossil fuels, it's time to move on. So I'm just saying, let's do the right thing and make the next economy a local one that doesn't have crazy stuff like this and doesn't have any more Enbridge in it. But make them clean up their mess on the way out, because the way it looks now, these guys is all going to go bankrupt and leave us the mess. And I already lived through Union Carbide. You know, I think the corporations should clean up their mess.
Hear, hear. Well, welcome, or thank you so much for being with us, Winona LaDuke and Frank Bibeau. Keep up the fight. We are with you. We'll support you. We'll make sure that you have the resources you need to win, because if you win, we all win. So thank you for everything.
Miigwech, thanks a lot for supporting us all, and y'all take care out there. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
Miigwech. Well, I am very pleased to be able to welcome our next speaker, Jennifer Taylor. Dr. Jennifer Taylor. And Corey, if she's with us, let's bring her onto the screen and I'll start my introduction. Hello, Dr. Taylor. All right. Okay. Dr. Jennifer Taylor is a certified organic farmer who, along with her husband, runs Lola's Organic Farm. Dr. Taylor also works as associate professor and coordinator of small farm programs at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. She currently serves as co-president of IFOAM North America, a board member of the Organic Farmers Association and the Rodale Institute, a member of the Standards Board of the Real Organic Project, and an advisor to the National Organic Coalition. Dr. Taylor has also served on the National Organic Standards Board and the Federal Advisory Committee on Beginning Farmers and Ranchers. In 2019, Dr. Taylor was awarded the Rodale Institute's Organic Pioneer for Farming Award. And in 2020, Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture named Dr. Taylor Florida's Women of the Year in Agriculture. So welcome, Dr. Taylor. Unmute, I can't hear you, sorry. There's a little bit, oh, there we go. And now I'll mute myself now so we don't have an echo. Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here today. Thank you so much. You know, if folks had just a moment to review some of the voices that we heard today, it's such an honor to hear these voices and to give support, to lean into the hour. It is such a great honor to participate in this Regeneration International People's Food Summit, a 24-hour global event. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to participate and add my small-scale Black Indigenous farmer voice to the table. I am a generational farmer also, and I've been farming just over 11 years on land from my grandmother, who was started out as a sharecropper and was given an opportunity to buy her own land, and she bought her own land, changed the whole dynamic of her farm and her opportunities for her for her family. So I first always feel that I need to give honor to my parents and the work that they have done to make it possible for me to be where I am today. My husband and I do farm on my grandmother's land, and we use some of the same tools that my grandmother used. We use We grow some of the same crops that she grew as well. We use organic agroecology farming practices to grow certified organic vegetables and fruits and cover crops all year. And I want to give another thank you to our speakers. We heard the struggles and the great inspirational stories and issues and challenges of resilience and regeneration and hope from North American farmers and ranchers and activists and environmentalists, and these voices from all around the world as well. These voices have given us hope for a better today and for a better tomorrow. Many of us here today have decided to make the change ourselves by our own deliberate actions and practices to promote agroecology and organic farming systems and nutritious local food systems. This we must do today to take deliberate actions toward the world that we would like to see and the well-being that we would like to experience. The future is now. It is even today. The inclusion of the great voices of small farmers, of Black, Indigenous farmers, and farmers of color communities that are seldom reached and seldom heard is pivotal to positive change in North America, in the United Nations, and the world. Our food systems cannot be hijacked by non-inclusion, by corporate agribusiness, and by pesticide cartels. Today, we must take deliberate actions to transform our local, national, and global food systems through our own purposeful actions and agroecology farming strategies that recognize the essential role of inclusion of underserved small farmers, inclusion of small-scale resource-poor farmers, smallholder farms, and their agroecology farm practices, their organic farming systems practices that enable and promote healthy soils, healthy environments, healthy, nutritious food systems, and healthy communities. Access to food, to healthy, nutritious food, is a human right. Agroecology and organic Black, Indigenous farmers and farmer communities, small farmers, are pivotal to building these healthy food systems and to growing the next generations of resilient small farmers, extending the benefits, so to speak, of these agroecology farming strategies and organic farming system strategies to all human beings, inclusive of all. Today, during the Regeneration International People's Food Summit, we add our voices, the voices of small farmers, the voices of Black, Indigenous farmers and farmers of color to the global platform of organic agroecology, of well-being and regeneration, to the deliberate actions that enable hope for a better today, hope for a better inclusive tomorrow, to build back better together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That perfectly encapsulated everything that we learned and grew with today. I so appreciate that message. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would love to hear from you a little bit, if you have time to stay with us, a little bit about IFOAM North America, the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. You are a co-president.
Yes.
And that links you to this global network of organic farmers. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how folks can get involved with IFOAM?
Yes, and I invite folks to get involved with IFOAM Organics International, as well as IFOAM North America. We are active on addressing the needs. Primarily, we're also focusing on small-scale farmers, but the needs of farmers and organic organizations across the United States, across North America at large. And also the activities and concerns and challenges as we build a better organic future together. So I would encourage folks to come and join with us. Come become members. We need members. So we appreciate your work as we work together to build back better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We've gotten some interesting comments throughout the day, and I have one here that I want to share as a thank you to Winona LaDuke, who just spoke. She said, make Winona president or give natives full power to govern themselves and resources. The latter, I will ask for a visa to live with them. That's true. They would be overwhelmed with immigration, wouldn't they? White culture is almost beyond hope of ever changing. It makes no sense. Even corporate Monsanto serves organic in their cafeteria. So Jennifer, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's, we've heard today from African-American farmers who would have had, like in 1910, through just pure grit, no help from anybody, 60 million acres of land. Like even that compared to the 3 million acres today, like imagine what agriculture would be like if there had not been such horrible racial discrimination and such an abrogation of treaty rights for Native Americans. We would have better agriculture, right?
We would definitely have a different type of agricultural system, I believe. I think that we would have a hard-reaching and a strong outreach of agriculture, where of organic agriculture in particular is what we should be addressing here. That I think would be beneficial for all communities and give improvement, enhancing the benefits of organic agriculture to all communities. And I think that's something that is missing, a missing piece in how we design organic agriculture programs that would do good to change and to look at it more inclusively, look at in providing participatory capacity building types of strategies that not only address organic agriculture and that need for improvement and change, but also address the livelihoods and the well-being of people as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes we think of each segregated group of people that we divide ourselves into in this country as having their own fight separate from one another. But I think what I learned today through listening to a diverse number of voices, hearing different histories of agriculture in this country, that if we empower one another, we empower ourselves simultaneously. And that we're better together.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for wrapping up the U.S. Portion of the People's Food Summit. You did it perfectly, such a wonderful message. And we're going to close out by showing a video of Winona LaDuke and Frank Bibeau and their fight against the Enbridge Line 3 pipeline. Thank you, Jennifer. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
People ask me, is this going to be like Standing Rock? At Standing Rock, they had 1 river to cross. Enbridge has 22 rivers to cross. That's a lot. So this is the Enbridge Line 3 going towards the headwaters of the Mississippi.
Stop Line 3! Stop Line 3! Stop Line 3! Stop Line 3! Stop Line 3!
Line 3 goes to the heart of Anishinaabe territory. I am a Anishinaabe person, and so I am forced to battle Enbridge. I am forced to battle Enbridge because they came to me. Ani nindawe maganadok, binesi kwandishintas, makwandodea. My name is Winona LaDuke. I'm Anishinaabe, Bear Clan, Mississippi Band, and I'm the director of Honor the Earth. In our migration story, we were instructed to go to the place where the food grows upon the water. And that is wild rice. And this is the only place in the world this grows. Wild rice is my birthright. Wild rice is the first food eaten and the last food served. It is our most sacred food. So we are here to protect our rice. We are here to protect our water. One day they tell me they're going to put a new pipe across the middle, basically, of Best Wild Rice Lake on our reservation. I said, well, who are those guys? There's no oil here. Why they want to do that? Who's this? And so I didn't know anything about the Enbridge Corporation until 8 years ago. This is a larger pipeline than Keystone. 915,000 barrels a day is bigger than an 800,000 barrels a day pipeline. It won't meet a climate test. And the planet's baking. This is the equivalent of 50 new coal-fired power plants. Why would you approve that? On the Earth, we're a $2 million organization, maybe. The Environmental Defense Fund, Natural Resource Defense Council, Greenpeace, those are like $100 million organizations. And we are on the ground facing the largest tar sands pipeline project in the world. These pipes are probably 5 or 6 years old. That's another of our deepest concerns we have with this pipeline. If you let pipes sit around in pipe yards for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, they start to corrode. One of the unlicensed, unmarked securities. Oh, it's the sheriff.
How long are you guys gonna be here?
Not much longer.
Okay. Just remember about your conditions through Aiken.
I actually didn't sign any conditions. I have no conditions and I rejected the plea.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do whatever I'm gonna do, and I didn't accept your conditions. I was charged with trespassing in my own lodge. I was inside the lodge by the river, and the Department of Natural Resources came and posted no trespassing signs, and then charged me with trespassing, although they put the signs up after, So I now have, I have 6 charges against me, basically for standing by the river. I expect by next week I'll have another 6. Enbridge has a number of security agencies. Securitas is perhaps their largest contractor. So this is our, hello Mr. Securitas.
How you doing?
There's more private security out here than we've ever seen, all different kinds. Unmarked cars, marked cars. Then the biggest problem is really their collaboration with the police departments, where they've incentivized it. The whole tab's paid by this Canadian multinational, and you get more money the more hours. So the Enbridge Corporation has engaged in what is called regulatory capture. They have captured the regulatory system of Minnesota, and they captured the regulatory system of Wisconsin. So they commence their really confusing and actually probably entirely illegal regulatory process. I spent 7 years in it. I went to every hearing. There wasn't any place to talk about our wild rice, and they treated Indian people like second-class citizens. It's kind of like watching someone take apart your life. That's what it's like. It's like watching them come and take apart everything that you know. I'm gonna stay here with these people off of 71, which is where I came to make sure that I wasn't in the way and it wasn't dangerous. There has been nobody on this road the entire time, buddy. And you know that and I know that. And you know that anybody can get by. No, you know as well as I do that Enbridge parks their guys along here all the time because you see them and I see them. No, I'm deeply concerned about what they have. We know that they have a lot of tear gas. We know that they have rubber bullets. We know that they have all kinds of special stuff. We've met with the Biden administration. We've met with the White House staff. We've met with every agency, but they're just waiting to see what kind of shit show there is up here. I was like, okay, do our best. apparently hundreds, maybe thousands of people coming to northern Minnesota to begin the upscaled resistance. And so there are people coming from all over the country to come stand on these rivers.
My name is M.K. Nguyen.
Sarah Tacola.
Gina Peltier. Anna Tomo, and I'm coming from Brooklyn, New York.
Russ Bennett, I'm from Wisconsin.
This is really life or death.
This pipeline is going through 43% of North America's fresh water. When these pipelines leak, they will destroy the water. So I am willing, for the sake of everyone's livelihoods, to gain a criminal record.
We're going to see how much influence the Canadian multinational has on the civil rights of Minnesotans.
Stop line 3! Stop line 3! Stop line 3! Stop line 3! Stop line 3!
Great gathering of the people over the pipelines. What a great gathering for Mother Earth and the water. We just want to thank you all for coming out. About time to tell Canadian corporations that they don't get to tell us what to do in this country. We have to raise a ruckus and make it as difficult as possible for Enbridge Line 3 at every single river crossing, and we're going to do it, right?
I looked out on, I don't know, I think it was 1,000 people. And I told them I felt like crying. You know, because for years we've been asking people to come out here. And they came. You know, and so all these people came from everywhere, and I think this is just the beginning. And I think people are going to come stand with us to protect our water. And a lot of those people are scared. We're scared too, you know? But someone has to stand up.
That is a Customs and Border Patrol helicopter. So there's now a federal presence.
There are no sacrifice zones. There are no sacrifice people. All of our lives, all of our land, all of our water.
The Homeland Security helicopter is kicking up torrents of dust. They're basically aggressively dusting all the protesters by the 2 inlets pump station for Line 3.
Thousand years of indigenous people living right here. You know, our old village right here. So say you bury 100 generations of people here. Pretty soon, you're the DNA of this land. You know, you and the land are made up of the same thing. That's us. It's our only choice. This is what's called the necessity defense. You know, I've exhausted my legal recourse. Looks like they're rolling, aren't they? Because, you know, we don't have another place to go. You know, this is our land up here. This is where we lived for 1,000 years, so I don't feel like I could go anywhere. I'm not gonna, you know. So, you know, it's funny because they interviewed me from the Star Tribune a couple days ago. They said, "Is this the last stand?" I said, "Oh no, we're just getting started."